Hello, I am TheZOMBIEJ, and it's time for a new video. This time, I'm not talking about LEGO. Fuck that. We're going to be talking about Medal of Honor, Call of Duty, and Battlefield. Specifically, why I prefer Medal of Honor, just the overall franchise, over Call of Duty and Battlefield. Medal of Honor Allied Assault, the first PC game in the Medal of Honor franchise, came out in 2002. My father's brother, my uncle, showed us the demo, and we liked it so much. It was awesome. It was pretty cool. So, naturally, we got the game. We played the game. It's been a staple of my childhood ever since then, at least at the time. Been a part of my life since we started playing it. It is a classic first-person shooter of the World War II variety. And in my opinion, it is the best World War II first-person shooter and best first-person shooter of all time in general, period. That's going to piss off Call of Duty fans and Battlefield fans, but come on, let's face it. Battlefield and Call of Duty have both subverted expectations. Mostly Call of Duty, because Battlefield, it's kind of it's weird. Battlefield started with Battlefield 1942 in 2002, same year as Allied Assault was released. Then in 2003, the first Call of Duty came out, and that was basically Allied Assault, but with a fresh coat of paint. Same action-packed gameplay, but the stories of lone wolf protagonists were traded in for a story that emphasized on teamwork, ordinary soldiers and their brothers at arms, facing extraordinary odds. It emphasized the sacrifices of war through these protagonists, and it was pretty good. The first Call of Duty was pretty good. The rest of the Call of Duty games, I can't say the same for. Call of Duty, the first one, was pretty good, but it was no Allied Assault. Allied Assault's multiplayer set the standard for World War II shooters at the time. It showed everything that a video game can accomplish in faithful retellings of the war. And the multiplayer was just mindless fun all the way. It was the first time the franchise got serious with the multiplayer stuff. With the first two games, Medal of Honor 1999 and the sequel, prequel, whatever, Underground, really wasn't much of a multiplayer, to be honest. Those were for the PlayStation. The PlayStation, you couldn't do multiplayer unless it was a local. Allied Assault showed everything you could do, and then some, in the single player, which was about 5.5 hours roughly, plus basic training. The graphics were great. If you have it at the highest settings, it still looks amazing today in 2026, as it did back then, still with the highest settings. And this is on a Vista PC, a Windows Vista PC. We're in the living room, by the way. Change of scenery. The graphics, the sound, the music, everything was amazing with that game. And the multiplayer stepped up and set a new standard for what first-person shooter multiplayer can and will do. While Battlefield, released the same year, didn't do what Allied Assault did. It was sort of inspired by it, but also there's a lot more going on, I suppose. Like there was just big ass open maps and whatnot. I played the demo for 1942 and pretty cool. A little slow, you know. The map was way too big, but yeah. I guess that's Tobruk for you. The first Call of Duty was released in 2003. Infinity Ward really did release an amazing package, including, especially in the multiplayer. You included a kill cam, iron sights, blood, for example. That's another thing, and many other things. They had an amazing package right there. The multiplayer alone was worth the price of admission. The story with the single player is pretty good too, solid. But in these two games combined, Call of Duty and Battlefield 1942, combined, I feel these games were inferior to Allied Assault. Allied Assault was the definitive first-person shooter of its era. And you have to respect Allied Assault. If you don't respect Allied Assault, you're a fucking moron. Go fuck yourself. Call of Duty was starting to steal the spotlight from Medal of Honor. That's a franchise. And even the World War II games from Call of Duty 2, Call of Duty 3, and all the expansion packs. Yeah, those games were solid for the most part. Sure as hell wasn't no Allied Assault. And Battlefield was slowly starting to rise in popularity because, let's face it, some of those games were mediocre and stupid. I mean, 2142 was just, what the fuck are you on, EA? At the time, at least. There were some questionable choices for games and game elements when it came to the Battlefield franchise as a whole. Same thing goes for Call of Duty. Call of Duty is probably the longest running first-person shooter franchise of all time. And really, something that was inspired by Medal of Honor. The first game I always felt was a ripoff of Medal of Honor, Allied Assault. Call of Duty 1 was basically a ripoff of Allied Assault. At least in my mind, it was. Now that I think about it, yeah, it's similar in a way, but there's a lot of discrepancies, obviously. Michael Giacchino still did the score, which was pretty good. The music for Call of Duty and Battlefield games, and even Medal of Honor games, the music for Call of Duty and Battlefield was just as good as anything else, you know. But I find myself always going back to the Medal of Honor scores, even for the games that are recycled music, like fucking Vanguard. Now, while the Medal of Honor franchise did start to dwindle in terms of sales and popularity in the 2000s, and EA tried their best to basically just put some new life into it with Airborne and with the Unreal 3 engine. And wow, what a game that was! The score is fantastic. Christopher Leonard's did the scores for Rising Sun, Pacific Assault, and European Assault. All fantastic games in their own right. Now, obviously, you know, the PS2 port of Vanguard just feels like mechanically the same as European Assault to a degree. Heroes and Heroes 2 were both released for the PSP. I never owned a PSP, so I never played these games, but I saw game footage, Let's Plays and whatnot, and wow. Vanguard was also released for the Wii, inferior port to the PS2 version. Now, Heroes 2 was also released for the Wii. What? I mean, seriously. Now, Rising Sun was also made for the Xbox and was the Xbox 360? I don't remember. Point is, there was an Xbox port and there was a GameCube port, apparently. So it was on 3 of the big platforms at the time. But Rising Sun still had problems, you know. The first 2 games, Medal of Honor and Medal of Honor Underground, are classics. Manon Baptiste is my favorite character from this franchise. Medal of Honor Allied Assault, you know, as legendary as it is, it got even better with the 2 expansion packs, Spearhead and Breakthrough. Spearhead, the quality was higher, it seemed, and it came out later in 2002 as like a bonus story. Now, it wasn't as long, it was far less long than Allied Assault, but Spearhead was pretty cool. It was great. It was in fact, one thing I when I first started playing Spearhead in with the Normandy invasion level, the first level, originally when I thought that, oh, we're underwater for some reason. Why am I sinking so low to the bottom of the seafloor? Oh wait, no, this is airborne stuff. Yeah, silly me. Breakthrough covers the Battle of Kasserine Pass and also a number of missions set in Italy. Mostly Italy. Including Sicily. And I never finished Breakthrough, but I can tell you that the quality was still there, but the difficulty was a little higher because you have to micromanage your weapons, your ammo count. You had to be careful how much ammo you expend from your guns, basically, because otherwise your German ally would get killed, and you'd be out of ammo and you're done. So it was a little harder. Breakthrough was, but at least Spearhead was an easier experience, kind of. Like, I could play that game and beat it in a day, probably, if I was really dedicated to it. It's like 2.5 hours or so. Breakthrough was double that. Breakthrough was like 4 hours at the most. And these were 2 games that were extensions to the main story of Allied Assault. Well, not the story, but And the gameplay mechanics, there were some that, some things that went into these 2 games that made a lot of sense, like timed grenades. That was realism right there. Still no blood, because Steven Spielberg was big, stupid. Fuck you, Steven. I mean, seriously. Allied Assault, with the base game and the 2 expansions, really, they resonate with me the most because those were the games that I played the most out of the entire Medal of Honor franchise. Medal of Honor, Allied Assault, Spearhead and Breakthrough. These were definitive World War II first-person shooters. It was the definitive experience on PC with the keyboard and mouse. So you get that whole system going on, and you'll have yourself a good time, a damn good time, really. Call of Duty didn't get that for me. It wasn't anywhere as close as Allied Assault and its expansions. Call of Duty 1 and Battlefield 1942 combined are inferior games, in my opinion. Now, you could say that they were also nostalgic games for the same era, 2002 and 2003, respectively. Because that was the era when Allied Assault was released and its expansion packs. So you'd think I'd have nostalgia for those 2 games as well. Nope. I have a physical copy of Call of Duty that I can't even install because I don't have the code for it. whatever. I never liked the game to begin with. The music is fine. The music is fantastic for the most part. But Battlefield 1942 just feels like, while the music is excellent, Joel is a great composer. It just seems like an inferior game to Allied Assault, at least in my opinion. The multiplayer, not as fun. Not at all. The multiplayer for Call of Duty, the first one, yeah, it's an upgrade to Allied Assault, essentially. But Allied Assault's multiplayer is the most iconic. It is the most iconic out of the 3 games. Yeah. And overall, you know, Allied Assault was everything that you needed. You truly, really needed in a first-person shooter that does the whole World War II thing. Now, while you want to add some tactical advantages to it, if you want that, there's Band of Brothers, or no, not Band of Brothers. That's a fucking HBO show. Great show. If you want tactical FPS from World War II, your best option is Brothers in Arms. The first 2 games are pretty good. Excellent. Hell's Highway, I don't know. I haven't played any of the others, to be honest. But, hey, at least the music is great for that franchise as well. Now, while Call of Duty and Battlefield have experimented with the whole tactical thing, over the course of, well, these past 2 decades or so, the games got more monotonous and boring, and the multiplayer continued to improve to some degree, but also, in terms of Call of Duty, the multiplayer just got ridiculously ridiculous. You know, I was fed up with it, and I'm still fed up with it. Not to mention, of course, microtransactions, loot boxes, all that shit. Nobody needs that shit. It's just garbage you don't need. It's an incentive for you to spend your parents' money, and you know, drive up their credit card bills. No, nobody needs that. Really, Call of Duty lost its stride, starting with World at War. World at War was the last, for the most part, good Call of Duty game. But even then, World at War was not. It was not Allied Assault. It certainly wasn't. It was not meant to be. You know, these World War II games from Call of Duty, from Activision, from Infinity Ward, they were not meant to be Allied Assault. They tried to do something, you know, different and out of the box with each passing game. Battlefield tried this too with its World War II games. We'll look at what happened with Battlefield 5 and whatever, you know. So, I struggle to understand why people continuously find appeal in Call of Duty games. The Modern Warfare trilogy was okay for the most part. Black Ops, at least the first one, was good, I suppose. The TheZOMBIEJ soundtrack with Alina Sigmund. Yeah, that's some good music. The rest of the Black Ops games progressively got worse and worse and worse and worse and worse. To the point where Black Ops 7, don't play it. It'll ruin your lust for the best Call of Duty Black Ops game ever. The best was the first one. Deal with it. And Call of Duty Black Ops 4? What was it, Black Ops 4? Why did they feel the need to make that game campaignless and a fucking battle royale? No one needs this battle royale shit. It is just money-making garbage that these companies, these publishers, seems to like have an obsession, an unhealthy obsession with. And it's sick. It really is. This is where the loot boxes come in. This is where the microtransactions come in. Ugh. Makes me want to puke. Yeah. Oh. So, the latest Call of Duty game, and of course there have been spin-offs like Advanced Warfare, Infinite Warfare, those are crap. The latest Call of Duty game that's coming out this year, I wish it wasn't released. I wish they would hold it back and not release it. Modern Warfare 4. This Modern Warfare reboot, essentially, did not need to happen. They did not need to give us a Call of Duty Modern Warfare reboot, starting with the 2019 title. Activision, what the fuck are you on? This latest one, this new one, Call of Duty Modern Warfare 4, it's no, don't play it. For the love of yourself, don't play it. Go back and play the original Modern Warfare 2 on like Xbox 360 if you have one. Battlefield 6 came out last year. And it sucks. It really does. I refuse to play a single Battlefield game or Call of Duty game, or both, that they just don't do what they're originally meant to do back so many years ago. Back in 2002, Battlefield 1942 was meant to, diversify the gameplay and multiplayer stuff for the first-person shooter genre. It expanded upon things. The original Call of Duty also did this, but with a fresh coat of paint, as opposed to the look of Allied Assault. And Allied Assault was above those two games. Medal of Honor got itself a reboot with Medal of Honor 2010 and the sequel, Medal of Honor Warfighter. The first one was a bold gamble on EA's half, but it felt like a Call of Duty clone in a sense, and as a result of that, some people still play it. I mean, there's Project Neptune, which has servers that keep this game still playable. Go check that out. And Warfighter, well, people still play that one as well for whatever reason. I could never get it to work on my PC. That was the nail in the coffin for the Medal of Honor franchise. Just glitches and bugs, which is a normal thing at this point. Nobody cares. There's always going to be bugs and glitches. Medal of Honor Warfighter was a critical and financial failure for EA. So they put the series on a short, well, not a short hiatus. They put it on quite a hiatus, and well, the last game that we got was in 2020. It was Medal of Honor Above and Beyond. We should be excited for this. We should have been excited for this back then, because Medal of Honor was back to some degree. The soundtrack is fantastic. This is great stuff. This is great music. Michael Giacchino was brought in for the themes, while Nami Melumad we're doing the score. The main score, the main soundtrack. Wow, good stuff. The campaign was very long. Longer than 7 hours, like 7.5 hours or something like that, if you really spend your time with it. My problem with Above and Beyond is it's a VR title. You need a surprisingly beefy PC in order to run it. 180 gigabytes. What? Specs aside, you know, it's I was first excited for this because, oh good, Medal of Honor is coming back after 6 or 8 years. But no, it proved to be the dumbest game of 2020, and not many people played it. People still play it nowadays, obviously, for whatever fucked up reason you want to. Were you a fucking masochist or something? Wait. Medal of Honor Above and Beyond was not great. It was done by Respawn, which is fine. I mean, yeah, at least EA allowed this to happen for some god-awful reason. But it proved to be, you know, it tried to revive a dead franchise. And at least it gave us the World War II setting again, which is, again, fine. But why was it a fucking VR title? Respawn! No! No VR for Medal of Honor. It does not work. It looks stupid. I'm not a fan of VR in general, because just Nintendo first tried it with the Virtual Boy, and at that point I was like, no, this is terrible. Now, obviously it's gotten way better, but even then it's still not great. Virtual reality is it's just a bona fide hype machine. And the Oculus Rift, I think is what it was, is what this game was powered, or ported to. But I guess you could play it on Steam, but you need stuff. It was a travesty. It really was. If Warfighter didn't bring the death knell upon the franchise, even though it did, yes. Above and Beyond really sort of just nailed that coffin completely shut, and here we are 6 years later, where there's still no new Medal of Honor game. Now, there are strong rumors that are suggesting a new Medal of Honor title, a full-on reboot, possibly. Fans are expecting a cinematic story, something that could compete with Call of Duty in this modern age, as Call of Duty has been on its obvious decline in relevance and whatnot for probably the past decade and a half or so. Battlefield, well, it's on a decline too. I mean, look at 2042. Wow. What the fuck? And other things with Battlefield. You know, I've never been a Battlefield fan. I've never really been a Call of Duty fan. I have my reservations when it comes to both franchises. I think they're inferior combined. Combined, all of those games, these were all wastes of money in my mind. The first games from these franchises, yes, Call of Duty 1 and Battlefield 1942. They were nostalgic for the era. There were no Allied Assault. Allied Assault was the definitive experience. You need to play Allied Assault. It is literally the best. There's no blood. There's no gore. There's, if anything, might be less realism, but it's more realistic than the original Medal of Honor was. I still play Allied Assault to this day, as you may know. I mean, I have my MOH series, random MOH videos. Go check out that playlist if you haven't already. And And I will be releasing a new series based on this game called MOH Realism. I took out the gore mod, I took out the ponage mod, I took out the optional effects. The game is now bone stock as it's meant to be played. So that doesn't mean that the main series, the main MOH series is ending. It's just on a hiatus for however long that lasts. But I will be having a MOH series out at some point. And I encourage you all to subscribe if you haven't already, and enjoy this shit. Call of Duty and Battlefield and Medal of Honor. The big three in terms of World War II first-person shooters, at least back in 2002 and 2003. Early 2000s, yes. These were the big three. Medal of Honor was the first franchise, obviously. So it is the granddaddy of all first-person shooter franchises. Fuck GoldenEye 007. That was an N64 game. That's not a PC game. It's not even a PlayStation game. If this video upset any Battlefield or Call of Duty stands out there, think before you speak. Your games, your franchises, are mediocre nowadays. Garbage, trash, boring, lame. Go back and play Medal of Honor, Allied Assault. Go back and play Underground. Go back and play the original game from 1999. Hell, go play all of the World War II games from the Medal of Honor franchise. Except for Above and Beyond. Fuck that. And enjoy yourself while playing those games. Hell, even go as far back as 2003. Play the original Call of Duty. Play all those World War II titles from back then. Play the first Battlefield game, Battlefield 1942. What more do I need to say? The past 20 years of Call of Duty and Battlefield, it's just been a complete, contest of stupidity. These Activision and EA trying to outdouche each other with their video games, and it's become more noted nowadays than it ever has been in the past 20 fucking years or so. So, I will conclude this video with this. Oop, sorry, camera, tripod, whatever. If you like Call of Duty, if you love Call of Duty, and if you love Battlefield, and you think I'm an asshole for picking on you and your franchises, grow up. Medal of Honor was the first one. That doesn't mean it's the best. But in my mind, Allied Assault is the best first-person shooter game of all time. It's clearly my favorite, obviously, but it's nothing to do with it. It is literally the best first-person shooter game of all time. And I have a lot of nostalgia for it, so maybe that has something to do with me defending Allied Assault so much. Because there's nothing wrong with it. There's nothing wrong with Allied Assault. And if you think there is something wrong with Allied Assault, fuck yourself. This game is the epitome of early 2000s nostalgia. Well, that and Bionicle, but this is a gaming video. It has nothing to do with Lego, to be honest, but still. Those years, those early years, in terms of first-person shooter games, it's been quite a fun fest of just, further developing the first-person shooter genre. And Medal of Honor was right there to take it to the next level. with each passing title, just kept getting better. Which, with each passing Medal of Honor game, it got so much better. It got just so much fun. The nostalgia factor is still there for all these games. And even if you have nostalgia for Medal of Honor 2010 and Medal of Honor Warfighter, you know, those are decent games for the most part, but hey, they're just Call of Duty clones to a degree. And even if you, for some reason, like Above and Beyond, shame on you. Above and Beyond is it's bad. Above and Beyond was bad. It should have never been a VR title. It would have been fine if it was just a PC title exclusively on Steam or whatever. I could understand that. But nope. Had to be VR. Had to be VR. A first for first-person shooters, well, when it comes to Medal of Honor at least. And the World War II setting. So, I do not believe that Medal of Honor needed a first-person shooter game in the realm of VR. It did not need a VR title in that franchise. You could give Call of Duty a VR game, and it would probably be gushed on by morons. And Battlefield. If you gave Battlefield a VA title, you know, Battlefield tards will just suck it up anyway because they're loyal to their franchise. But expand your horizons and give Allied Assault a try. Give the entire Medal of Honor series franchise a try. Even the GBA game Infiltrator, which is fun. You die easily. Too easily. Unless you know what you're doing. I wouldn't recommend playing the GBA port of Underground. That's a piece of shit. It really is. The music's fine. But, what a piece of shit. I mean, seriously, what a piece of shit. Heroes and Heroes 2 were decent. And, yeah. Pacific Assault, long and involved, but was still a pretty good game. For the most part. European Assault and Vanguard, mechanically similar, but still enjoyable on the PS2. I welcome you in the comment section below to discuss Medal of Honor, to discuss Call of Duty, discuss Battlefield, all in the comment section below. And be civil about it. I mean, come on. Let's not be a bunch of arrogant pricks, alright? Let's not, be jackasses and just call each other out in the comment section below. That's just being stupid and immature and also makes you look like an idiot. I mean, seriously. That's the truth. Loyalty can lead you down some toxic paths, so I would not recommend it. Give Allied Assault a try. Now, you might say the same about me, but I gave Call of Duty a try. I have a few of the games, even Finest Hour. I prefer Medal of Honor. I tried Battlefield as well, including Battlefield 2 Modern Combat, which is also on the PS2. Good game. Still no Medal of Honor. I look for a day. I look forward to the day when Medal of Honor comes back full force. If EA will allow it to happen. If not, whatever. You know, the franchise is dead. It'll stay dead. The EA of today is not the EA that it was 20 plus years ago. That EA is long gone. And it's not getting any better. It's not getting any better. Same thing goes for Activision. To EA and Activision, thank you for these games, but also, fuck you for your corporate greed. Because at the end of the day, it's all about money to them. Medal of Honor wasn't selling for the longest time, so they had to take it out of rotation. And who's to say, above and beyond, fixed any of that, fixed any of the sales, and brought actual, money to EA? It was probably abysmal in terms of sales, because it's a VR title. Yeah. Poor sales because of it's a VR title. This is beyond true, but it makes you think. So, what do you think about this video? I know I might upset some Call of Duty and Battlefield stands out there, but please, come on. Medal of Honor came first. It debuted on the Sony PlayStation, the original PlayStation. And ever since then, it proved it had some staying power, and it did have staying power. For the past 6 years, we haven't gotten anything, and it's unlikely that we will get a new Medal of Honor game, and especially the one that the fans really want. At least you can go back and play the old ones, play the campaigns, and get the files you need to, add multiplayer. To the PC ports, at least. That's all there is to it. And if you have particular nostalgia for Medal of Honor Allied Assault, why don't we talk about it in the comment section below. I will have my first episode of MOH Realism out tomorrow. No Lego content. Fuck that shit. I hope you all enjoyed this video to some extent. I apologize for the length. And, well, if you like the living room, I guess, we have that thing over there. But, yeah. So, I hope you all enjoyed this video. I'm going to go play some Allied Assault here soon as well. Just let me upload this video first, I suppose. But, I've been playing Allied Assault ad nauseum ever since we got a copy of it when it came out, I think. I think it was when it came out, I don't remember. I think we got the War Chest set, and that's how we played it, so. Nostalgia. It's a powerful thing, but hey, you can't deny it. Here's a toast to Medal of Honor. And fuck Call of Duty, and fuck Battlefield. Thank you all for watching. I am TheZOMBIEJ. I'll see you folks later. Have a good fucking day, and peace.